So we're
So
going to
what's
talk
up? What's
about
up? This is
success
Juwan.
habits.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about.
Okay.
So what's up? What's up, everyone? This is Juwan Buford with the Grow Givers podcast, and definitely excited to be with you today with my incredible co-host Adrian Ponce. I hear people pronounce your name two different ways, and it throws me off. I hear some people say Ponce. I hear some people say Ponce, and I'm like, I know Spanish-speaking people would pronounce it as Ponce, right?
Yep.
So I think that's the correct pronunciation. I hear everyone say Ponce.
It is, but I mean, I answer to both. So it's, even people like when they pronounce my like Adrian, Adriana, Adriani, like Andrea, if it starts with A, I just respond to it. It's all good.
As an entrepreneur, it's like, whatever, what you got?
Right,
How
exactly.
can
Like,
I serve you?
right, exactly.
Yes,
You looking to buy or sell a house?
there it
You
is.
need some services from PPLSI. Like, so yeah.
I love it. So, what I want to talk about, always when topics come to me is within a framework or an experience that I've had with someone. And, I was thinking critically about where I'm at, the stage I'm at in business, where admittedly stuff is starting to get a little bit easier. Like I feel the momentum coming. And I had a conversation with another entrepreneur yesterday that we've known each other for years. And we were talking about all the entrepreneurs we know who have come and gone, like they bit the dust, right?
Just like their whole businesses just went away
or they just fell off. You know
okay.
what I mean? Like, and I'm always careful. I think about that song, what is it? Outcast on Ottawa. And there's this line where Andre 3000, whatever he's calling himself nowadays, I don't keep up like I used to, where he says, he basically saying you can be eating today and on the street tomorrow, right?
True statement.
And what a lot of people talk about when it comes to entrepreneurship is there's science here when it comes to entrepreneurship. RGAs, KPIs, marketing, branding, sales, operations, customer service, but there's a lot of art to it as well. And sometimes things can happen where, COVID knocked a lot of business owners out, not because they were bad people or because they didn't have a good business, so to speak, but couldn't pivot or their business wasn't non-essential, right? They caught that L. Even people that I work with, partners that I work with, right? Within the real estate industry, with PPLSI, the other endeavors I'm involved in, I watch them catch L's. And so I was thinking about that, and I was like, the ones that survived or the ones that didn't catch the L, I know there's certain habits, routines, certain things they've done that have contributed to their longevity. And that's the conversation I wanted to have because I didn't have a chance to have an extended conversation with the other entrepreneur I work with. But I thought long and hard about that over the last 2-3 days. Like, what are some of the habits? What are some of the routines? What are some of the regimens that have contributed, right? And I started taking inventory of myself. I thought it'd be a fascinating conversation to have. So I'm curious, you and I, for all intents and purposes, we're still getting to know each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we vibe because, I think our energy is similar and we have similar values. We want the same things, right? Curious, what are your thoughts when you think about that, right? And the fact that, I'm watching business owners now. And at this point in the game, I can see it. I don't want to sound like the Oracle, but I can almost see when an entrepreneur is getting ready to drop off. I can see it coming, right? But I don't want to talk about the mistakes people make. What are things you think that has contributed to your longevity and success?
I think that something that's contributed to my longevity is being able to partner with people who have been in the business for a lot longer than me.
Mm-hmm.
And this is no shade to anybody either. I totally appreciate everybody, whoever poured into me, whoever, pulled me to the side and was like, hey, Adrian, you need to do X, Y, and Z, or shared personal things with me in regards to areas where they felt like they were lacking or what they would have done different. And I think that you have to have an open mind and a coachable mind and be
Mm-hmm.
very receptive to what other people are willing to pour into you. Example would be like when I first got my residential builder's license, I had a mentor, still have him as a mentor, knock on wood. He's an older guy. But he had been in the construction industry since like the 70s. And so he's seen a lot, and he's done a lot. And he was like, because I was like kind of complaining to him about like just like some of the backlash and people not taking me serious and thinking that like I didn't know what I was talking about when and he was like, you need to get your builder's license because what that does is that levels the playing field. He was like, and that's like your secret weapon, to be able to talk and have these conversations, but you're actually, a step ahead of that person because just because they've been doing it for 10, 20, 30 years doesn't mean that, they're doing it correctly or that they even have the same credentials that you can have. So he was like, a lot of these contractors, they don't have like the academic acumen to take a state exam and pass it. He was like, but you do. He was like, you're sharp, you're, academically inclined. So I think like, having people telling you stuff like that and then like executing it, like, okay, and I did that. I got it. And then I was able to like kind of replicate that and had like several different LLCs, several different builders licenses where I was like, had like this company, that company, we were doing this over here, that over here. And I think too, like learning from those people's mistakes. Like I had a guy who I thought this dude was like major. And he's like an older guy too, and he was doing like build outs and and once I get like close to him and I have a rapport with them, I feel comfortable asking them those pertinent questions like, so when you did X, Y, and Z, what was the ticket on it? What was the ticket on the labor? Like how much money did you make? And when he told me like basically like all the overhead and everything that he had put into it and the small amount of money that he was making off of these huge projects, I was like, okay, yeah, so definitely don't want to do that. And then like I know another contractor, a mechanical contractor who's done like big, huge projects too. And asking him to break down the numbers, and I'm like, okay, so how much did you make? How much was overhead? How much was labor? And when he was breaking down the numbers, I was like, oh, hell to the no. Like, I don't even know, why, a person would even do it. And he was like, yeah, he was like, that's because it costs to learn. And so for having those conversations with those other entrepreneurs who were willing to have those conversations with me, I feel like I was able to quickly decide several things. One is being able to delegate stuff out. Like I sub out stuff. I don't have like a huge office with like, 10, 20, $30,000 worth of equipment. I don't do any of that because another one of my mentors told me like he's like the more money that you invest in something like that, the more you have to like keep doing it to grow your business and to maintain. He was like, you're doing it the right way by delegating it out, and then also too by like having like intra-office staff that works remotely. He's like, cut down on a lot of your overhead, because I know a lot of people who were in the game who like, when times got tough and money slowed down, like all their money was going on covering their overhead. So
Mm-hmm.
I think that's been very important, is learning from other people's missteps and saying like, okay, I know what to do, but most importantly, learning from this person is like what not to do.
Mm-hmm.
So I
Yeah.
think that's super, super important. And you have to like have a very receptive mindset. You can't have the mindset of like, oh, well, that's them. That ain't going to happen to me. Well, if it can happen to them, it definitely can happen to you because they have 10, 20, 30 years of experience over you. They've seen things, the ebb and flow of business, the different times where, the economy was booming, where the economy was like in the garbage, all these different things that they've experienced that you haven't experienced. So I think
Mm-hmm.
that's super important. I think that's one of the most important things. And then also too, like being able to pivot, seeing an opportunity and like just seizing the moment and be like, okay, yeah, I'm about to slide in and do this. I'm
Yeah.
gonna like expand my service lines. Like, okay, so we're doing property preservation, we're doing REO, we're doing evictions, we're doing hazard claims, we're going to do property management, we're going to do unit turns, we're going to work with investors, we're going to do our own projects. Like, all these different things coming from like the same, industry. So I think that's
Yeah.
super important too.
Yeah, I'm sitting here taking notes, typing this up because you go.
Well,
Uh,
I take notes too on every time we're doing something. I'm
yeah.
always taking notes.
So it's interesting. Like I'm listening to you, and I'm thinking about. I remember there was a gentleman I met years ago. He was trying to start up a co-working space. Out in Southfield, he had a partner, shall remain nameless. And I remember I was sitting down having a brief conversation with him about just things he could do to market and brand more effectively, and more specifically, what the place could provide that would make it attractive to entrepreneurs. And I remember he just had this attitude that rubbed me the wrong way. And the attitude the entire time was, I know about that already. I've thought that already. I got this already. It was one of those know-it-alls. Um, and it's interesting because, I think sometimes people might actually um, put me in that box sometimes if you don't know me. But like you, I'm always taking notes. I'm always learning. I'm always reading. I'm always aware that the more I know, the more I realize I don't know things. You know what I mean? Like,
Absolutely.
so that's huge. Let's get a little bit more granular, right? Uh, what are like routines that you think that have served you? I know I have my routines. I'll get into it in a moment, but I'm curious to know like what's your success itinerary?
My success itinerary. So I have a lot of different routines. Um, so like in the morning, I like to um start off my day. This is super important to me. I do a morning prayer call
Mm-hmm.
from 7:30 until whenever it's over. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and what we do is it's real estate based, but really anyone is welcome. And we do it on um, social media, we do it
Mm-hmm.
Clubhouse. And so we'll do, like a morning prayer, and then we'll share praise reports, we'll do prayer requests. And what I like about it is just the positive energy and the vibes of we have people from all over. We have people from Worcester, Massachusetts, New York, um, Key West, Florida, Orlando, Florida, Texas, Chicago, Cleveland, Michigan, all over, people doing, business all over. Not everyone is a realtor. Obviously I'm a contractor first and I'm always, coming from that viewpoint. We have people
Mm-hmm.
who do like credit repair, and I like the camaraderie. I like the positive energy, and it's open to anybody. It's not like it's like people who are like cramming religion down your throat. It's nothing like that. It's just people holding transactions up in prayer, or even family members. Like I have a brother who was very, very ill. And then when my mom was sick, they pray for, people's families, or if you're going through something. And I do believe in the power of prayer. So I really feel like that definitely helps me with just having a positive mindset. And I always pray for like a productive day, and just to have a good attitude throughout the day, no matter what happens. So I feel like that's very, very important to me. And then I like to plan ahead. I have like my schedule on my phone. I have alerts on my phone. I try to time block, manage my time. I try to like, okay, I'm going to work on this for like an hour or two. Then, bam, I'm going to pivot and start working on this. And I think that's super important. Trying to adhere to the schedule that you have put for yourself. I think it's important to try to manage your time. Like when I'm online, I use Time Doctor, like I was telling you, because
Yeah.
I'm even managing myself. I want to know just how effective and efficient I am. I'm looking at, okay, I was doing this, I was doing that, I was doing this. I'm also doing it for my office staff. I want to know what they're doing. And so I think that's like my success itinerary. And then also too, trying to delegate out as much as I possibly can, training my office staff to do things that to me, it's like busy work, like
Mhm.
the property aware software. Like I trained and I know how to do the stuff, but I'm not like, I haven't been working on the software for like 8 years. So I hire somebody to like do that to, you know, get us caught up and handle that stuff because that's busy work to me. I don't need to be doing that. I need to be talking with people about what I do and what we do and generating income generating activities is what I need to be doing. I don't need to be like inundated with paperwork. So I
Mhm.
think that's also, you know, super important. And then being out
That's
in the field.
huge. Yeah, that's huge.
Mhm.
Oftentimes people talk about the success itinerary, and you can tell where a person is and what stage they are, what stage they're in their business, right? That conversation about part of my itinerary is delegation, right?
Absolutely.
Getting stuff off my plate. Like you literally
Yeah.
set aside time to do that. And you can see why you've grown from a team of me to a team of we. You know, I think about when I think about itinerary, I think about diet.
Okay.
I'm always thinking of like part of my itinerary is to feed myself. So they say you are what you eat, right?
Okay.
So I'm very, and as I've grown older, I've become even more and more, um, God, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't want to say anal, but I want to say idiosyncratic
Okay.
about what I put in my body. Like I pay close attention to how my body responds to everything. Um, which is why I'm primarily vegetarian, right? But it, you know, the books, right?
Yes.
Constantly reading, so I can be sharper, smarter, no more, right? I just firmly believe entrepreneurship requires a couple things, and one of them is entrepreneurs who tend to be successful, who are able to pivot when things change, is because we live on the edges. So we see the stuff happening first before anyone else does, because we're constantly learning, constantly taking in information, constantly making sure that we're more astute than everyone else around us. And so because we see the opportunities first, we also see the tsunami that's coming first oftentimes too. And those of us who take the time to pour into ourselves, we're able to move accordingly, right? Like
Absolutely.
I'm listening to something you said that caught my attention, something I need to do. Um, what I like about what you said in terms of the morning prayer, you know, for me, it's meditation, right?
Hmm.
Affirmations, vision planning as I read my goals aloud and literally see myself in them. But the diversity of voices that you have, right? Because you can get if you're hanging around the same people all the time, if you're just having the same conversations, same interactions, you're really not growing because the people that you tend to hang around are going to be people who tend to be in agreement with you. So that means a lot of times your ideals or some of the things that you want to do are being beta tested, right?
Right.
Also, I like the diversity that you have around you because ideals. I mean, people are doing different things in different markets, and
Absolutely.
information and products and services land different ways with people in different markets, right? Um, I mean, yeah, we're all U.S. citizens, but look, I mean, we all know. I mean, it's the same thing here in Detroit. You can go 5 blocks away, it's a totally different culture going on. People
Absolutely.
living totally different, and it's definitely the same thing when you go across the United States. I like that. I think those are important pieces that people need to take an inventory of, right? When they're looking at their inventory, when they take inventory of their itinerary, and what are some of the things they can be doing on a daily basis, right, to achieve success. I mean, I like the other things you talked about too. I mean, I am, as you know, I'm very idiosyncratic about my KPIs. Right? I know when I wake up in the morning exactly what the activity or for people who may not be familiar with KPIs, key performance indicators or RGAs, revenue generating activities. Like I have it down to a science. I know based on how many exposures, presentations, invitations, referrals, et cetera, I can literally predict my income just by looking at that stuff. So that's a huge part. I think every business owner should have that as part of their success itinerary. You need to know your numbers or have some type of dashboard where you can kind of see either what you're doing personally or if you're working with a team, have a way of taking pulse of what's going on with people around you. That's cool.
I agree.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. And I think like knowing your numbers too, like when you are calculating up like whatever all your streams of income are, like what's coming in, and also too, very crucial is your overhead and what's going out. That's super important too.
Mm-hmm.
If you like I have an app that I use, I'm about to upgrade it, but it's QuickBooks, and I'm a little bit hood, I'm a little bit ghetto. I have it on my phone. My accountant is like, I demand you stop using it on your phone. He's like, this is not the right one for you. He's like, you need to upgrade, you know, to the internet version or whatever. But what I like about it is it's a game changer for me, just because every account that you have, you can upload there, and everything that, like, whether it's your credit cards, your personal accounts, your business accounts, your escrow accounts, whatever accounts you have, everything's right there. If you have a money market account, whatever, everything's right there, and you can keep track of everything right there. So you can clearly see money coming in, money going out, and it helps you to understand your spending habits, or if you're like just blowing money on dumb things, or even something like you might see something come through, like, what's that? You double checking stuff, like, you know, where, you know, you might have forgot you did something. You know, it's super important to have a very tight handle on that part of your business, because that's
Mm-hmm.
what's going to make or break you, and that's what's going to allow you to have longevity in any industry, you know. So
Yeah.
I think that's super important too, like knowing what's coming in and coming out.
Cash flow statement and the balance sheet.
Yep,
It will set you free
absolutely.
if you are looking at it, right? I was talking to a business owner yesterday who was having a conniption about whether or not they should invest in going to an event and a couple seminars and workshops that are coming up within her industry. And it was so clear as day to me. It's like, you have no idea how much money you're going to be earning tomorrow, a week from now, a month from now, 3, 6 months from now. Of course, things never go exactly as planned, but it was obvious to me you have no faith in your system.
So what, like, did those events cost money that
Mm-hmm.
entrepreneur wasn't willing to invest the money in, or how was
Yeah,
it?
yeah. And, you know, like I said, I try to keep it positive. I don't out or talk ill of people. Um, but the bottom line is, I mean, as far as I was concerned, it was minimal, right? Most of the, not all of them, but most of the networking events in the Midwest in particular, um, workshops, et cetera, you know, we're talking 50, 200, 500. Every now and again, I'll see one for $1,000, right? And one of them in particular, you know, it's going to be like hundreds of millionaires in a room, hundreds of millionaires. And she was debating, and I guess, yeah, this is part of your itinerary too. You got to invest in yourself. Right?
I was
She was debating going to this event. And I was sitting down listening to her, and I was, okay, so I think this event's going to cost about $600-700.
okay.
So I was thinking about lodging, and I was like, well, you're gonna have lodging, and if you're trying to control a budget, you know, when we get there, there's gonna be people there that want a partner, right? Get a hotel room and, you know, split the beds, right? Um, you know, two twin size, two queen size, whatever the case would be. So you can control your expenses there. If you carpool as opposed to fly, um, you know, that controls your expenses. And then you're paying for the ticket. And then if you don't go out there and you don't try to eat steak and eggs every single day and shrimp plates and all that fun stuff, I was like, you know, you could probably do this for $600-700.
I mean, you could
And
meal prep if you
yeah,
really, you know, like, honestly,
and
like,
the person,
yeah.
yeah, and the person was like, this is a lot. And I kind of looked at it, I said, let's say the conference was a widget producing conference, a toothpick producing. Now, I know nothing about toothpicks. I know nothing about producing toothpicks. I know where they come from, trees, but how the toothpick gets from the tree to sitting on my cabinet, I don't know, right? But if someone tells me there's going to be a meeting where there's going to be hundreds of millionaires in the room, people with deep pockets who've been in business 10, 15, 20 years, dispensing advice and guidance about how they have had success, there is a very strong chance that I will quickly spend the $700 to get in that space. That's just invaluable, right?
Connections that you can make with those other
Goodness.
people.
And
It's going to pay for itself, and
yeah,
everything you spend is a tax deduction anyways. So
like,
that's how I'm looking at it, is like,
yeah,
even if you took the cheap route, like you could take a bus, or a train, you know, whatever you wanted to do. If like you're like, okay, this is my budget, you could meal prep. Because I sometimes, if I'm doing road trips, I'll meal prep because I'm like, I don't want to just eat garbage. I want to like have something healthy. So I'll, you know, meal prep, I'll do salads. I even do it for my dogs. I'll prepare their stuff. So it, you know, because I don't want to like, oh, they're hungry, I'll stop at McDonald's, and you know, because they like stuff like that. You know, they love table food. But I don't like McDonald's. I don't, that's not my
yeah,
spot. I don't do the McDonald's thing, but I'll do it for them. But I just said all that to say that, like, basically it goes back to what I was thinking of, like, treat yourself, don't cheat yourself. Like, if you can't invest money in yourself, then like what are we really doing? Like, well, if you can't, you know, you're doing all this
it's
stuff, you can't invest in yourself,
it's
and like, what are we doing?
it's not even a question of can't. You have no choice. I guess that's the point I was trying to make to her, and he was listening. You have no choice. Like,
What industry is
and
this person in?
they're in the insurance investment, and to an extent, they're in the legal industry as well, right?
Okay, so
So,
it's basically like
so,
crucial that they
so
go to this event.
exactly.
Yes, there's no
And
way around it. You better cut some coupons, person, whoever it is.
like, there's a study out there, and I'm gonna misquote it because it's been a while since I read it. But there's a study that's floating around out there, that says that you could have a high performing A person, like a really high performing A person in the office, and you could have 5, 6 mediocre people in the office right next to them. Just because that A person is in close proximity to them, their production will increase by over 20%.
I agree with
Just
that.
just by being in the space.
Hmm.
It may have been 15, but look, 15% increase in my revenues, or in my production, man, 15% increase in my production, what that would do for my revenues, man. Anyway, in respect, but here's the flip side. They said that if you put a low performing person in the room, that low performing person or persons will drop the activity, the production, the productivity of the people by well over 30, 50, even 60%.
You know why?
And oh, I know why. Um,
'Cause it's like a cancer. It's that
yeah,
underachiever, mediocre at best attitude, underachiever mentality.
yeah,
It's like a cancer. We talk about it in the contracting industry a lot too. Like, if you
yeah,
have one person on a job that has a bad attitude or doesn't like the person in charge, and they're bad mouthing the person in charge, ultimately it's like a cancer. It infects everything around it. The other, you know, subs work, quality, their attitude, and it's like a cancer. So that's why you have to like cut it out immediately. As soon as
yeah,
you see it, it's gotta go.
yeah. I mean, I've had situations like that happen. Just dealt with a situation like that where I had to carve out a good 5, 6 people. And I know, well, I don't
On
want
your
to,
team?
oh, yeah. But I'm going to come back to that. But I mean, that's why you need to go to places like that, because you got to get around the A players.
Absolutely.
You got to get around the A players, right? I guess, that's the point I was trying to make, as a habit individuals should inculcate in their lives, right? But yeah, I had to carve out 5 or 6 people. A couple of them were very productive, but I had to let them go because, like you said, they were being cancerous, right? Um, and I guess that when we talk about success habits and routines, that's a very important piece. You got to recognize that. There's an acronym that I use. I call it gas. And there are three things I look for in individuals that I'm surrounded by. And I've picked this up from the Franklin Planner, Covey's, that's the system I use. I've picked this up from a couple books, Traction being one of them. There are several books that I picked this up in, but in any respect, I think Success Principles talks about this. I mean, there are so many iterations of this concept, but the bottom line is, if you're going to build a successful organization, I don't care if it's a sales organization, I don't care if it's a church organization, I don't care if it's a non, whatever. You got to be surrounded by people who get the mission. They know what the assignment is, and they're passionate about it, right? They have to get the mission. They have to know the assignment. That'd be passionate. Anyone who deals with me, you know what the assignment is. It's help entrepreneurs level up. I believe a rising tide lifts all ships. And every entrepreneur that I can help employ more people, that improves the community around me. It improves the likelihood that my kids are going to have a phenomenal experience and have a greater opportunity for success. It gives you the opportunity to take agency and control what happens, not only at your kitchen table, but in the environment you live in. It's the entrepreneurs that make the world go round, right? We are the tail that wags the dog. And every large corporation started out as a little small endeavor. So there's no such thing as a small endeavor. It's just, do you have the vision, right? You got to get it. If you don't get that, if you're just out here trying to exploit people and earn a buck, and I'm not mad at people who are just pursuing upon money. It is what it is. We all have our own motivations, whatever. But I really believe in the importance of having a value prop, and in particular, value prop supports entrepreneurship. So that's number one. I think a business owner, entrepreneur, you need to take close inventory as to whether or not people you're surrounded by are just as excited about the mission, the assignment. The next thing that you have to be like acutely aware of is people can respect what you do, but they don't want to be accountable. They don't want to start early. They don't want to stay late. They don't want to go the extra mile. They'll take shortcuts in the dark, right, and pretend like they're doing certain things in the light. They can respect what you do, but they don't want to be accountable. Sometimes it's because they don't like you. And, people are funny. Like most people, 90% of people, maybe even higher than that, they're not making logical decisions. They make subjective decisions, emotional decisions, and then they use their logic to justify their behavior, right? You got to be around people who are willing to be accountable to what's required to make the sausage, right? If the sausage is fantastic, it's great, it's phenomenal, it's tasty, it's flavorful, it's healthy, all that fun stuff, well, that means some sweat equity went into making that sausage. Some people don't want to put in the sweat equity, right? And then, of course, you always have the people who want to take shortcuts. They don't want to learn the skills to pay the bills, right? So accountability as skills to pay the bills, right? They don't want to learn the skills. Now, as an entrepreneur, it's your responsibility to provide an environment for them to learn. It's your responsibility to exhibit exampleship, because you can't, especially when you're first starting out, you can't ask people to do things you're not doing. Like no one gives a care that you have a PhD. No one cares that you've been in business for 50 million years. No one cares about any of that. When you're first starting out a new endeavor, you are the bar, you are the example, you are the culture. If you are effing off and on some BS.com, then it's a false expectation that people around you are going to plug in. If you're not willing to do the things that are necessary to make the sausage, no one else is going to do it. And they're only going to do 80% of what it is you do anyway. I mean, those are the best people around you. Everybody else is only going to do 50%. But anyway, so I had a situation where I cut them off relatively fast, but still not fast enough.
Okay.
Right? The hater still had time to do damage. Not that much damage, but enough where it became problematic. But I'll tell you, for those listening in, look, it's like, I'm trying to think of a metaphor to be applicable to everyone, but I'm telling you, it's worth it. Because when you have someone like that in there, it infects everybody's mood. Even if the person is highly productive, even if they are really good at what they do, if they are siphoning from the mission, if they're siphoning from because I see this happen all the time. I'll see people bring in really talented, skilled, highly performing people, and the person's just running amok. And yeah, they're profitable in the short term, but long term, they are destroying your ability to scale and build big. Because the only way you scale is by culture. The only way you scale is by not the jure rule, but the de facto rule. Like, you shouldn't have to helicopter around people. Once you get the culture set and people bought into the culture, the expectations and the vision and the goal and the assignment, people will exhibit their talents and skills within that framework and build the business. And if they feel like the business is being built not just for the sake of someone else's profit, but they also are, or somebody else's selfish intentions, and they see they can grow in it and achieve their goals, you have a winning team. But you get a Cancer up in there, like, you can't win when there's doubt. Like, if you're playing basketball, you pass the rock to someone. If you doubt that person's been in the gym shooting the shot, if you doubt whether or not that person wants to see everybody win, if you doubt that person will make the right decision, you don't pass the ball. And if you don't pass the ball, you might not, you can't make the plays by yourself. But if you're not willing to pass the ball because somebody's shady, somebody's trifling, somebody's not willing to do the work, somebody is, they're speaking ill of other people around you, man, you can't build a team like that. I mean, you're absolutely right. Like, that is a habit, that is a principle that you have to. I took a haircut financially as a result of cutting them out, but man, because the cortisol went down, the cortisol levels went down. I became even more effective as an individual, and I became more effective as a leader. And now, as a result of cutting them out, they're somewhere else underperforming and making other people's lives hell. And I have a group of people that I enjoy working with. We respect each other. We enjoy each other. Yeah, we prick each other every now and again as entrepreneurs. High performers going to annoy each other every now and again. But
or bad heads, yeah.
But the bottom line is we get it in,
And those cancers that you cut out, they're spreading that negativity elsewhere.
Well, yeah, because look, the bottom line is the way you show up, you're going to show up everywhere else that way.
Absolutely.
So, okay, so this person in particular, so you had 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 individuals who were performing, but so they went from unconsciously incompetent to consciously incompetent, and they were becoming consciously competent, right? That's where they were at. Okay. Then you had one individual who was very competent, but had no esteem, right? And I've always shared this, right? There are entrepreneurs and business owners whom I don't like. I don't like them. We don't vibrate well together, right? But because I respect entrepreneurship, because I respect how difficult this game is, and I respect the things they've accomplished and the people they've helped, and the fact that they provide employment opportunities to people, I would never hate them. Some of them even deserve it. Some of them deserve it. But I would never cause problems in their space. If I'm in that situation, I'm going to remove myself from that space. And instead of tearing you down, I'm just going to go out and build taller buildings. If I think I can do it better, I'm not going to tear you down. I'm just going to say, okay, you're doing it this way. I can't be in agreement with that. I'm going to go over here. I'm going to do it this way. And let's see who builds the taller building, right? No animus, right? But you will have people who come into your business because they don't have esteem for entrepreneurship. They don't have esteem for themselves, because the way people treat you is how they feel about themselves. It's a direct reflection of what's going on in their lives. They're willing to do that, right? So this person came into the organization And whether it be jealousy, envy, they weren't willing to pay the price to learn the things they needed to learn to do the things that I was doing. And so, because they couldn't go head up with me because I'm so competent, and it's just very few people are going to outwork me, and there's very few people are going to outthink me. Instead, what they said, well, let me find these people who are barely competent, but they'll listen to me. And that's where the cancer started to spread, right? And then people sometimes, the other thing too that you got to be careful about, particularly when you're dealing with people like that, people mistake popularity for influence. People mistake popularity for effectiveness, right? You can be popular doing a lot of, and I'm always cautious. If I'm around somebody where they feed off being popular, I immediately don't trust them. Because if being popular is your internal compass, if that's the thing that matters most to you, well, hell, I mean, we got people on Instagram doing things they shouldn't be doing to get popular. In the United States, in our society, you can get popular doing whatever. It can be the most ignorant, nihilistic, foolish thing. And people will pay to be entertained, or they'll pay to hear people say things that they want to hear, right? They'll pay for pandering. They'll pay popularity, right? But popularity isn't effectiveness, and popularity isn't influence. Influence is your ability to get people to do the thing that's best for themselves, even when you're not present. That's influence. That's how you become effective as a leader. And so that person also didn't understand that, right? They were just all about being popular. And so the moment I immediately identified that and I was able to get them all together in the same space, I was like, I'm not mad at you. You can eat. You just can't eat off my table.
Makes sense.
You can, I'm not mad. I want you to eat. You all have families, you got responsibilities, but you all can't eat off the table that I'm creating. Go eat off your own table. And so the individuals who work, because here's the thing, right? Those individuals who are around individuals like myself, we're A players. If you hang around me long enough, you're going to level up. You have no choice. You can't be around me because I'm going to speak it into your life. I'm going to start to hold you accountable because I'm not going to have a dull knife rubbing off on me. I want to be around people who sharpen me. So, and anyone who's around me long enough knows I demand that you learn. Like, I can't converse with you if you're not learning, if you're not leveling up, you're not doing things, you're not iterating, you're not doing the work, you're not reading. Sooner or later, you and I are going to clash because I like to have inspiring, informative, educational conversations, right?
And they're not applying themselves.
Yeah.
So it's
So
you're basically just wasting time. You're taking up a
right.
spot and you're
So
busy, so you don't have time to waste.
right. So the individuals who were mediocre, not necessarily as people, but in terms of their performance, the moment they stopped eating at the table, their performance went down.
Mm-hmm.
The two individuals and the one person in particular, they're still doing what they do. They were talented, they were gifted, they're able to get out there and do the work, but they're not growing. They're not expanding. They don't have the wherewithal. So the little groupies that went along with them, they went from becoming consciously competent to they are still consciously incompetent.
Mm.
They haven't graduated. They're at the same place they've been. And that's what they're going to be. And you have to be willing to do that. And I did have love and affinity, even for those individuals who weren't necessarily performing. I had love and affinity for them. But as an entrepreneur, you got to understand that this is what I believe. 5 years from now, the businesses that I'm building and the ecosystem that I'm building is going to provide employment. It's going to change the culture and the values and the modus operandus of people, because it doesn't take a lot. All you need is 20 people to really make a difference in any ecosystem. You got 20 people are down for you, you got 20 people operating the same page, Y'all moving in unison, got same values. You don't even need to be in the same business, but you got 20 people on the same page. Y'all will change the environment given enough time. I believe that's what we're building here. So for me, I could not let my affinities for these individuals, even though I still wanted them to win, to take precedent over that. So you go out there and catch that L, which is what they've been doing, catching L's. I shouldn't laugh like that. It's terrible. They just saw
No, it is funny though, because
yeah,
it's, I mean, if you get what your hand calls for.
yeah,
So
yeah. I think from for entrepreneurs listening to, because I'll be frank, like I don't most people go into entrepreneurship to help people. That's why I do it. That's what motivated me to do this, because I can still pick up the phone, make a phone call, take a job at a bank, based on my experience and knowledge and what I know, and probably still create a situation where 200 still do that easy. Of course, they will own you and run you into the ground and all other attendant account, but I can still do that. I chose entrepreneurship because I felt like it was a more effective means to touch more people and help people and operate the way I want to operate, important in people's lives. I think most people go into entrepreneurship for that reason, but you have to understand, while you may believe everybody deserves, and that's a different type of conversation, not everyone is deserved.
I agree. I agree.
I think everybody does, we live in the wealthiest nation in the world. I think as a society and as a community within this nation, we shouldn't want to see people, we shouldn't be okay with people eating off the street. You know what I mean? But that doesn't mean that just because we want people to have a base level of dignity as human beings, that doesn't mean people deserve to have what other people who actually work hard, pay the price, get after it have, right?
I agree. Because you have to put in, like you said, the time, the sweat equity, the investment. It's a lot that goes into it. And I think sometimes when people are looking at it as outsiders looking in, you're making it look extremely easy because you're doing it, but they don't see the behind the scenes stuff. And even like the negative things that happen, like, we've all had projects that it didn't work out, you lost money, you had to kick somebody to the curb, you might have had to go to court, any number of things that can happen when you're doing business. There's that ugly side of entrepreneurship that people don't see. They just see like, oh, you're closing deals, you're out here, you're doing this, blah, blah, blah. They see that part of it, but they don't understand like the behind the scenes, or like trying to train your team, the ups and downs of that, or like someone on your team gets sick. Like right now, two of my most important people are both sick. One of them is battling cancer, and I've worked with them for like 5 years. So it was like a dropping a bomb on me. And then the other one is has constant health issues too, so it's like stuff like that, like that's that affects your business too, because you have this relationship and they're doing so many tasks for you, and that's affecting them too,
Yeah.
mentally and physically. So it's a lot that people don't see, that they just see like the good stuff. They don't see the behind the scenes, what it really takes to maintain, have longevity, grow, pivot. They don't see any of that stuff.
No, it's interesting. It's always the people that haven't built anything that have the most to say.
Oh, absolutely.
Because when you've built something, the price, you just like, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and
Yeah.
I find that people who haven't done anything, because I've had some friends who have made some comments over the years, and I've had to, in a ladylike way, let them know, like, well, when you are able to do X, Y, and Z, and like you're not trying to stun on them, but you're just trying to let them know, like, boo boo, you have no clue. You're like totally you zero knowledge of like what's going on here. So for you to tell me what you would do is like tonterías and putarias, like you're talking nonsense here. Like you don't have no clue of what it takes to get to this point, what it takes to maintain and still have a personal life outside of it, pay all your bills and still, you know, have money to cover your overhead and everything else that goes into this type of lifestyle and, you know, being an entrepreneur. You know, so for people like that, I'll just be like, you said all that to say what? Like what viewpoint are you coming from? What did you build? So
Yeah.
yeah, like what are we talking about here? Like, you know,
Mm.
you're doing you know, the 9 to 5 thing. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's a totally different lane. And you know, props to those people who are doing it. We need those people. They make society go round. We need people that work at Walmart. We need people that work at Best Buy. We need you. But at the same time, you know, their viewpoint trying to critique what an entrepreneur is doing or saying what I would do is, well, I mean, but you have no reference point. So why are
Mm-hmm.
we even having this conversation? You know, like you said, you want to be around people that are going to sharpen you. That's why I like, you know, our group, PPLSI, because we're always like, especially our Sunday call when everybody comes together and we get the
Mm-hmm.
people are like, oh, I'm doing this. And, you know, people are chiming in saying what they're doing, how they're, you know, leveling up. And it's like, okay, that's the type of energy you want to be around. You want to be around people who are like, actually doing, they're executing. So that, you know, that's the, and even my prayer call, you know, like you said, you have people from different parts of the market doing this, doing that. You know, like the lady in Key West, she's door knocking and you know, hosting stuff, and she's like a docent at like one of the museums, and you know, it's like she's doing a lot of different stuff because it's warm down there. And then her husband is like he has like a boat where he charters, and so it's like a lot of different stuff she's doing down there that, you know, obviously up here we can't do. So it's just interesting to like, you know, get ideas from her and, you know, see what she's doing and, you know, other people too. So I think it's just, that's what you want. You know, you want that positive energy, that positive vibe where you feel
You
like,
said you just said something that was triggering for me. I think a habit that entrepreneurs have to adopt. So I think I know. You got to be constantly recruiting
absolutely.
because people get into car accidents, people fall in love with each other, people get sick, people get divorced. They have epiphanies where they decide one day I just want to go to Kansas and start a farm and disappear from the world and plant potatoes,
Or
right?
get burnt out. People get burnt out too.
Everything,
Hmm.
right? And I think about it like I think about the environment I grew up in. It was kind of funny because I drove through that neighborhood or close to that neighborhood yesterday. And
Where is that at?
so I spent not all, but I spent a lot of my formative years that Joy Road Evergreen area.
Okay, exit 9. Okay,
So
okay.
so you know what that is.
Oh, absolutely.
Like the block that I grew up on for a period of time, man, it's more houses burnt down than are standing,
Absolutely.
right? So, and the bottom line is, I'm so grateful, right? I tell parents this all the time. It's something I do with my children. The first thing when they wake up in the morning, I'm like, I love you. You're the best of all time. I'm so grateful that I had, I had a grandmother that constantly poured that into me, like I was important, right? That I mattered. Um, but in respect, was a lot of things that contributed to that, to me getting out, and also, having a father that was available to help extricate me from that situation too, right? So, but I think about how as I've leveled up from being in that environment in middle school and elementary school to high school to college, and then beyond college, and then this crescendoing of achievements, right? Virtually none of the people that I was cool with back in my elementary school years are here today. And I have a handful of individuals who are with me in my collegiate years, who are here with me, who are there 10 years beyond. And the people 10 years beyond have a handful. It's the same way in entrepreneurship, right? Life likes. And as you continue to level up and grow, it's not lonely. You have to make new friends. You have to make new friends because not everybody's willing to make the climb. And as you climb higher, the air gets thinner and there's more pressure. Also, the microscope shines on you a little bit more. People start taking inventory for good or for bad. Some people are taking inventory because they want to learn. They want to eat the fruit and spit out the seed. They know that you're not perfect, but the things you do exceptionally well, I want those things. But you also have people who are just spectators and haters, and who are you to succeed? Your success makes them feel a certain kind of way about themselves. So to tear you down. And most of the people that are with you are not going to be able to make that climb. So you have to continually be looking for new friends, new comrades. It doesn't mean you leave people behind. I don't diss any of the people that I came up with, matriculated through every situation with. But I did realize that sometimes they did not have the skills, the talents, the will to continue to climb. And so I won't diss people, but I will distance myself. And it's not personal. We can still talk. We can still, as long as you're not out here in the streets in a certain kind of way that exposes me and my family. I'll never speak ill of you. But at the same time, if you're not willing to pay the price, you can't come. Right?
Make yourself unavailable to those people who their goals are not similarly aligned and they're doing things that you don't really feel are conducive to your plan.
Yeah, because
like that in our lives.
Yeah, particularly when you're talking about men. Man, I'm not going to go down this rabbit hole. What are you talking about? I'm not going to do it.
But it's the truth though. You have to even childhood friends. I have some childhood friends who I feel frustrated by because I'm we grew up in the same neighborhood. We experienced the same things. Most of us didn't have a father in the home. A lot of us were raised by our grandparents, children of immigrants, whatnot, whatever. And so everyone kind of has a similar, experience, and you get people who they just don't want.
They don't get it.
They don't have the drive, the ambition, the determination to do it, and then they're feeling some type of way about what you're doing and making little it's I call it a sneak diss, it's a underhand, a backhanded compliment. An example would be, because I've heard this over the years a lot, and it always makes me chuckle. My brother too, because I'll tell him about it. Somebody will say something like, "Oh, well, hey, Pons," or "Hey, Adrian, oh, how's your little contracting business going?"
Oh yeah, see.
And it's usually a dude who will say it. Oh yeah, you still doing that one thing, a little contracting thing you was doing. And it's yep, I'm still doing it. I'm still doing that little contracting thing. Why do you ask? Did you need something? It's they're acknowledging that you're doing it, but they're still kind of trying to you know, like diminish what you're doing by using that type of term. Or even it's making comments because it's male dominated, there's a lot of misogyny within the contracting industry. It's
people that sneak this, but the habits. Because you're not willing to hang out in the same places either. And move the same. I remember a conversation I had with a lady last year. It was 12 o'clock at night. I hadn't eaten anything all day long, which is a bad habit of mine. I was just going. 12 o'clock rolls around. You know, in Detroit, there's only, especially in downtown area, you know, there's only 3 places you can go to get something to eat. Right? Yes. There's only 3 places you can go. So she wanted to go to one of these places, but she also wanted to stop by a gas station.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is 1 o'clock at night off. Where's that gas station at? The one off of Grand River. Not that far south from West Grand Boulevard. Not that far. Like you can see Motown, Motor City Casino.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's a gas station. I look during the day, people be clowning. You know what I mean? And I looked at her and I said, I'm not going. I'm not. She said, so you're scared of the hood? You scared? I said, no, I'm not scared of the hood. I said, I'm too valuable. I got to come home tonight. Because I got kids. I have responsibilities, things that need to be taken care of. There's some people who are relying upon me to put myself at risk. Like, no, I'm not going to the liquor store next to the club where I know there is a history of drama and conflict. We're not doing that. I'm not going to a restaurant where I know people don't value their lives the same way I value my life.
I mean, it's common sense. Like, I mean,
it's not. When people are accustomed to certain habits, it's like people think like your subconscious is running everything. Your subconscious and the environment and the people around you and all those things have been poured into you. That is the software that's really making the thing go. And if you don't change that software, they'll never understand. They'll never understand. They won't get it. Like we have some really bad software, and I'm gonna speak specifically of men. And I'm be even more specific, African American men, but men in general. There's some bad software that've been put in our heads, right? That lend itself to situations where you're just not going to be successful, right? I had a conversation with a brother that is in my peer group. Let's put it that way. He's an entrepreneur as well. And every time I talk to him, he said, my man, let's go out to the cigar bar. Let's go out drinking. There's ladies, there's girls, this, that, and the other. And I'm like, bro, we are in our 40s. Like, you're supposed to get that out your system in your 20s. Like, you should be like laser focused on building wealth. Like, you should be every moment. If you're not financially independent, as far as I'm concerned, everybody can be me. But if you're, or I don't expect everybody to think like me or move like me or the people I hang around with. But I'm at the stage in my life where if it does not contribute to the growth of my business, if it does not contribute, and that doesn't also always mean materially, but spiritually, financially, materially, psychologically, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. If it does not contribute to the well-being of my children, if it does not contribute to my ability to spread my wings even further and have more people underneath my wings who benefit from my work ethic, I'm just not going to do it. But what do you do when you hang around people who are not even thinking on that level? Right? Because their software is off. And I empathize because my software was off. I remember there was a period of time in my life where I moved and behaved that way. But at some point, you got to be like, look, man, my life is worth more than this. Like, I can be more. I can give more. I can set different priorities. I can, assuming that this is your value system. Anyway, I'll go off on a tangent on this, and I'm about to stop. But I guess what I would.
Well, I mean, I think it's important because maybe someone listening to this might have an epiphany, like you discussing it and bringing it out in the open. You know what I mean? Like maybe somebody is on the brink of having an epiphany and just needed to hear that perspective, you know?
Yeah, because you won't adopt the right habits if you don't have the right framework for looking at your life.
Absolutely.
Right? So there's certain places I won't go. There's certain arguments I won't get into anymore. there's certain back and forth. There's certain there are certain conversations where I'm just like, I don't have a dog in that fight. Like, I'm not about to. Mm-mm, mm-mm. Yeah, if I would love to be able to spend more time. I'm gonna spend way more time this year being intentional about getting around kids who are like, I feel like by the time you get to fourth, fifth, sixth grade, if there has not been an intervention, there's going to be problems. There's going to be problems. You got to get to these young kids before they hit their senior year in high school. Because by then, life and life, the programming is off. No one's taking the time to have a conversation about how important their lives are and how much they really have in them to contribute. And if you don't have that framework, the habits can be off.
I agree.
So I don't know. Any other habits or routines you feel like people should know about that will serve them?
I think self-awareness, taking self-inventory, taking accountability yourself. If you've fallen short on something, you mess something up, especially if you're working on a team, you have to be able to say, oh, I messed that up, or I should have done X, Y, and Z. And using those things as a teaching moment, even if someone on your team did something to mess something up, not making the person feel like they're being outed and like, it's something that's
Mm,
irreparable harm or damage. It's just something like, okay, look, this happened. We need to kind of pivot. We need to talk about what happened, and we need to
mm,
set up a standard operating procedure or put some systems in place that is going to prevent this from happening again. And it's not to point fingers at anyone, it's for everyone to learn as a cohesive unit and to give feedback, empowering your team, like, hey, how would you do this? Like sometimes I don't even feel like dealing with it. I'll be like, well, what do you think we should do?
mm.
Like, especially if it comes
Yep.
to dealing with a subcontractor, like somebody acting whatever, or just,
Mm,
acting like a child about something. I'm like, well, how do you want to handle it? And then I just, let the office staff, the team member, okay, cool, that's good with me. Because I got other stuff I'm trying to focus on. I don't, handling somebody that's throwing a temper tantrum is not, top priority. So yeah,
yeah, you edify in public and you reprimand in private.
exactly. Yep.
Cool. I love it.
Okay. All right, cool. Well, I appreciate you. I had all these are fun for me. I don't know about you, but they're fun. 'Cause I never get tired of talking shop, and I do feel like people listening to these things, especially when
Mhm.
you're talking about the bad software and we're talking about like these different things that we feel like entrepreneurs, like a skill set that entrepreneurs, need to have. I think it's invaluable information, and this is stuff that people are really not talking about, and it's important.
No, it's interesting, man. Like we had a really good get together at the Biz Connect Mixer, and it was interesting. It was a huge diversity of people in there, like ethnically, socioeconomically, academically, etc. Right. But we also had some individuals who have enjoyed a great degree of success, and we had I wouldn't say a mirror of this conversation, but some of the things we talked about, and it was fascinating to me that no, I mean, people are not having these type of conversations. It was interesting. Like people are having conversations like technically about how to get to the bag, right? Like hit this lever, invest in this, hit this button, go get the bag. And I think people are, and then you have people out here who are just philosophizing. And that's cool too.
But they're
But
not laying down the blueprint. They're not giving you the step by step by step. Like, this is what we do. This is what you do.
yep,
This is what I do. Like, we're executing. We're not just like, like we're recruiters. Like, like they're like in the brokerage I'm in, there's a lot of people who are like doing like agent attraction. And then it's like you look at their stats, you're like, you ain't even hitting on nothing. You ain't even
what you
closing no
attraction.
deals. Like, yeah, like I mean, so what are we talking about here? Like, you said all that to say what? Like you're just trying to recruit people, but you're not leading by example. You're not out here closing deals. Like if I'm gonna follow somebody like for example, like, okay, so yesterday I was supposed to have 3 closings. I did 2. The one, we had to switch it to Tuesday. It's a fascinating story how we worked that out. Absolutely amazing. God was like totally on my side, like just opening doors, actually kicking doors open for me to get
Mhm.
this transaction closed. But I saw that to say like, okay, so that's 13, 14, and then the one on Tuesday will be 15 that I've closed this year. So
You are
you're,
smashed.
if yeah,
My
if you're
goodness.
not if you're not on that tip and that's not the type of like, so what are we talking about? Because there's
Yep.
people who like you're not doing nada. You're just out here, whatever. So I mean, I feel like if I'm gonna listen to somebody and I'm gonna follow somebody, it's gonna be somebody that's actually like, I can see that, and you can check my stats too. You know
Mhm.
what I'm saying? My stats are right there. So, and I'm petty. I do check other people's stats. Like when they send me,
I
oh,
love
I'm
it.
very petty. Anybody that's close to me, I'm very petty like that. I'm very competitive. I'm like, okay, let me see, how many deals this person's closed, what they're working with, what
Yeah.
listings they got, and I just want to know, like, okay, what type of person is this person? I might read their reviews,
Mhm.
all of that. Because I'm planning for my client, especially if
Right.
they're seller, buyer, investor, whatever. I'm trying to strategize on how to get the deal to the next step. So,
Mhm.
for me, yeah, I'm just like, okay, so if you're not like producing and actually like, then what are we talking about? We're not talking about anything. So that's, like, and that's what we're doing here. We're laying the blueprint. We're showing
Mhm.
people through what we do, proven methods of success. That's why we have longevity in what we're doing and, opening up doors for other entrepreneurs. And like you said, creating opportunities. That's what it's all about. It's not
Yeah.
about bragging or making anybody feel bad or trying to like, poo-poo on anybody. Everybody's, got their own plan for success. So, and that's
Mhm.
but if we're operating in the entrepreneurial space, you definitely need to have the mentality of iron sharpens iron. Like we might listen to somebody else talking on the training on Sunday, and they might be saying, so I'm taking notes. I'm always
Yep.
taking notes. When me and you talk, I'm taking notes sometimes, and vice versa. Like you said, I'm taking
Mhm.
notes.
Yeah.
So that's what want. You want that. And, always trying to level up and get people together and collaborate with people who they're doing stuff that you want to do, or you're like, oh yeah, that's a good opportunity for me to do this or that, all that. So yeah, absolutely.
Man, you just share a bar there too. But we have been here together for over an hour now.
Yeah, I know, and I
Yeah.
gotta start getting
Yeah.
ready to like head out. I gotta
Mhm.
drop off Sophia, so
Yeah.
yeah, I got a lot of stuff to do.
Man, you just shared something that really caught my that collaboration piece. Well, that's what we should talk about next time.
Okay.
People don't know how to collaborate. They don't know
I
how.
agree.
Oh my.
Especially in certain communities, it's like kind of frowned upon.
Yeah.
And we could talk about like the differences and like because like we're working in different communities,
Hmm.
but it's the same community, but like some things I notice in like the Latino community versus
Hmm.
the Black community. Like in the Latino community, I'm getting referrals like there it's like a tsunami,
Yeah. Yeah.
like it's just constant, constant, like
Hmm.
this person, and I do it too, we all do it. But then sometimes in like, in other communities, it's like people got like their hands closed. They're like, they don't want to give up nothing. And you're just like, where's that energy coming from?
Low esteem.
Closed mouth doesn't
Hmm.
get fed, and
Yeah.
crabs in a bucket mentality like serves nobody.
Hmm.
And I think by talking about it, we can get it kind of out in the open and start a dialogue. We're not, you know, trying to make anybody feel bad. We're just like, making you conscious and making you woke and aware that that's a counterproductive thought process. And we
Yeah.
need to get to the root cause of it. So yeah, I think it's really important. I definitely think we should talk about that next time for sure.
Yeah. Well, look, get out there, crush it, celebrate success in advance.
Okay.
And look, for folks, if you made it this far, I know we brought value to you. I know hopefully it inspired you, equipped you, spurred you to move differently than you did before. So hit that like, let the algorithm know it's solid content and helpful. course, sharing is caring. Goodbye for now.